players around him. So I think staying healthy, I think having a healthy Ethan Wolf, they worked exceptionally hard this summer. Jason Kroon is going to be a great addition to the tight end position. And then obviously our running back core as well. But yeah, I think for him it's going to be the consistency of people around him. But Josh has worked exceptionally hard over the summer. He's worked exceptionally hard over his entire career, and he's continued to progress and get better. But I think it's bigger than him. I think it's also the people around him as well.
Steve and then Brent. Go ahead, Steve.
Most the players in this roster aren't accustomed during their college careers of going into a season as a division favorite. You've been through it on a smaller scale at Central. I'm just wondering, do you talk about the expectations? Do you embrace them? Do you downplay them? Just how do you go about preparing them for what they're dealing with in this regard?
You trust the process. Coming here, we had won 4 conference championships in 6 years at different levels. But that doesn't change. You say a minor scale, but yet an individual who just signed a $60 million plus contract played for us as a true freshman that we're proud of, and Eric Fisher. You look at Antonio Brown, there's 7 players on that Central Michigan team that are impacting the National Football League, so I consider that a large scale when you look at the players that we had on those rosters. But I don't think that changes. Kids are kids, players are players. When your internal expectations are very high, it doesn't matter what the external expectations are. Our expectations are very high, and to me, it comes with meeting your full potential in your program. Every player, the program, and we always have high expectations. We expect to compete for championships. That's why you compete, but you have to follow the process, and it's a journey. And so I think the more time you spend talking about winning championships and expectations, you're wasting time. That's taking you away from the task at hand, and that's being a better football player and a better football team, understanding situational football, understanding your style of play, understanding your fundamentals, your details, your assignments. So we're worried about ourselves and just being better each and every day, and then where it leads us to and where it leads us to. So we want expectations high. That's why you come to the University of Tennessee. That's why you coach here. And to me, that's a compliment of our program. No more, no less. Now it's what you do with it.
Butch, how much time have you guys spent this summer talking about how you manage the contact, how you manage the workload? I know you're not veteran across the board in every position, but this is your most veteran team. Do you manage a fall camp different with a team with this kind of experience compared to your first 3?
Oh, that's a good question, and that's why I get back. It's Team 120, and every team is different. And we have a more veteran group, but we still only have 11 seniors in our football program. And that's why every team is unique, because you look at the progress of Jalen Reeves-Maven from going to a full-time performer on special teams, to his second year being a full-time starter at the linebacker position. And you have to challenge your team. It's not only physical toughness of training camp, but the mental toughness of training camp. Today will be a great test for our football team. We started the morning off with 7:30 team meetings, special teams. They have a full day of academics being in summer school. Then they'll come back and they have 2 more position meetings, and then we practice this evening. That'll be a great test of the mental toughness within our football team, and that daily grind will occur over this week. So to me, you have to constantly grow and develop that. But yes, there's some individuals that have proven we don't need to be game ready right now. We just need to build up. So some individuals will get more reps than others. We may manufacture some different situations where individuals are trying to earn their role, and that's what training camp is everyone's establishing their role for Team 120. So to answer your question, yes, I think every camp is different, but this will be different than last year in terms of that.
We got John Bryson and Mark.
Butch, somewhat along those same lines, because you do have primarily a roster that you entirely recruited because you returned so many starters. Is there more trust there from coaches and players going through the process of camp, and then does it change what you hope to accomplish or how you can accomplish things over the course of camp?
trust is earned over time, so we definitely have that time factor. But you can't assume anything, even having individuals in your program now that have been in the program for a number of years. I believe you got to start from ground zero. You have to start from scratch, and you have to build up. Now, I've been impressed with the retention, which you would expect, the retention of our older players and even some of our younger players that haven't played that much. But you have to go through every single detail, from fundamentals to situational football to how you practice. This morning, we talked about practice etiquette and being a mature football team. And today, when we go out there in helmets, respecting each other, staying up off the ground, having block cooperation amongst the offensive and defensive lines, and those standards and expectations, how we tag off, our body position. So I think you start from ground zero, but I do think that it lends itself to being able to move at a quicker pace, yes.
But you talk about the details. ESPN is kind of back here in the back. ESPN's kind of subjected UT fans to their top 25, where they've seen Oklahoma and Florida over and over and over again. As a staff, how much do you go back and look at the fourth quarters and the game management of those games and how you can make different decisions the next time?
Well, can you give me specifics?
I would say the Florida game, kicking the extra point rather than going for two in the fourth quarter. The Oklahoma game, kicking the field goal inside the 5 rather than going for it on fourth down.
Right.
Just those things where everybody can Monday morning quarterback all they want and say, boy, I wish we had done that.
Well, we do that all the time, and that's part of being better. That's part of continuing to grow. If we would have done those and they wouldn't have worked, you would have said the same things, and that's the beauty of your jobs. But with us, nothing is done by chance. That's something that we constantly evaluate, and not just us, but the trends throughout pro football, college football. Yeah, we spent a lot of times. We watched the 1 minute drive, and I think there was a lot of learning lessons, not only for us, but for our conference in that 1 minute drive. So yeah, we look at all that, and you look at, the opponents you're playing, all that. You try to put your players in those type of situations going into training camp, trying to create some stressful situations. We have what we call gotta have it periods. And so there's different things, like a 2-point play. That's the one time you're going to extend the ball to try to get in the end zone. So yeah, we go back, we watch that. That's part of being better. That's part of our DNA. That started during the season last year, and it also started throughout the course of the offseason. So yes, and we'll expose them. We define adversity as a football team. And we went through, and we'll show them throughout the course of training camp, adversity in pro football and college football that happened last year, and how do you overcome those, whether it's a turnover in the red zone, whether it's a pick six, whether it's a blocked field goal or a blocked punt. We'll look at every single thing that occurred in college football and pro football from last year, so nothing is done by chance. And that's a good question, because it is. It's all about learning from your previous experiences. How can you be better about it? But when you make decisions, there's a lot that goes into it, and when you're confident and you believe that you're going to execute in those situations and you believe that's the best for your football team at that particular stage, you feel very confident in those decisions.
Justin, Paul, Wes, and John Adams, and then I have the other.
2 questions. First off, you said at the beginning that everyone's
Mike Tomlin only allows one question in his press conference.
I'm going to push the limit anyway. What you mentioned that the guys are all going to be available today. Do you know of anybody besides Shai who's going to be limited when you actually get into pads? 2, you mentioned a lot how this is going to be the shortest camp in terms of time for 2 days. How did you maybe structure practice different so that you're getting the most out of the time you have there?
Well, first of all, as we know, Shai will be very, very limited. We'll build our way up with Juwan Jennings, but he's progressing, and we expect him to be full go here real shortly. So really, like I said, they're in different stages, but they'll all participate in different things. I think a lot of it is going to be after day 2 when we put the shells on to kind of see how their body responds. And you can have a great summer, but there's nothing like getting into football shape. And we've tried to do more explosive training and more football conditioning in the summer than we've ever had. but you'll never really know until you actually get on the grass and you play football for 2 hours. So we'll know a little bit more in terms of that. And what was the last one?
About you talked about it being the shortest camp
Yeah.
that you've ever had, the 2 days. Did you come up with sort of a different way of approaching camp this year because you only have so much time to do it that way? Is there something else you're different about?
Yeah, some, but Dustin, I think it's a balancing act because you also have to make sure that you don't wear your players out. But it is a challenge in terms of trying to expose them to a lot of situational football, a lot of situations, and being able to captivate them, be able to keep their attention for those 7 days when all you have is football. So we've tried to mix up the meeting times, maybe shorten different meeting times, keep their attention spans, but really challenge them to them understanding, and that's part of the maturity and growth of our football team, is that, hey, we have 7 days where all we're doing is just football. So every day you have to be locked in, because once that starts, fall semester starts, now they have exams, they have papers, and that takes away from that. So I think more so just challenging them of that particular situation.
But you guys have had to rely on almost 20 newcomers a class the last couple of years. How is this class different that you're not going to have to rely on 20 to play immediate big roles? And then what freshmen do you think, or newcomers do you think can make a role and get into that chart? And then also giving a Alexis Johnson update.
Yep. So you just passed Dustin with 3 questions. You guys have had all summer to think of all this stuff. But I think, first of all, it's really, really too early to put any expectations on any true freshmen. We have not seen them play, or transfers. We've not seen them play football here. They've not taken 1 snap. So I think it's unfair to really say this individual is going to step up or this individual. I will tell you this. I really like this freshman class and all of our newcomers. I think they're different in terms of their mentality, and I think it's a byproduct of our older players, and too, in them really setting the standard, the expectations. And I think, again, you look at a 3.09 by this freshman class, that speaks volumes. But I'm excited about them. So we'll just continue to progress and see where that goes. There's been no change or status or no update from Alexis Johnson. And what was your third question? See, you can't even.
How do you, so you don't have to push them to play immediately. Does
Yeah.
that change how you work with them at all?
No. When we recruit a young man, when he comes in here, we want him to have the mentality that he's playing right away, that he's playing early. And I just think it's your overall approach, and they're into it, and they're competitive. They all want to play. And so right now, they're responsible for creating their football identity. They're responsible for creating their roles. It's like I told our football team, our job is to win. So we're going to play the best players. My favorite players, our favorite players, are the ones that do everything the right way. They compete every day, and I think a lot of times with young players, the problem lies where you compare and you don't compete. And what we told them is compete, don't compare. Just compete against yourself, compete every single day, and then we'll see it. And I told the Josh Dobbs story. Again, I think the Josh Dobbs story is a great story for younger players. He doesn't make the travel roster at the University of Florida, and a few weeks later, he's the starting quarterback for the University of Tennessee. And that young man could have wallowed in self-pity. He could have felt sorry for himself, and all he did was work and work that much harder and make sure he was ready to take care of that opportunity when it presented itself. And to me, that's character. That's competitive character. And I think we have a lot of stories now within our program of maturity, of staying the course and just trusting the process, and Josh is one of those.